What if the thing you're most insecure about, the crack in your confidence, the flaw you try to hide when the world gets too close, is actually the very thing that makes you unforgettable? What if the part of you you've been taught to fix is the part someone else has been waiting to see? Today, I want to tell you a story, not about becoming flawless, but about becoming fearlessly real. About the beauty we spend our whole lives overlooking. Before we begin, I need to prepare you for something. There's a moment in this story, a single sentence, that flips everything upside down. A sentence that turns imperfection into a superpower. I won't tell you when it comes, but when it does, you'll feel it. And you might see yourself a little differently from that moment on. You and I weren't born scared of imperfection. We learned it. Think about it. A toddler doesn't apologize before they dance. They don't rehearse before they laugh. They don't check the mirror before they run into your arms. They exist freely, messily, beautifully. But as we get older, we're slowly trained out of that freedom. We start getting graded, compared, filtered, judged by standards we never agreed to. We're told, fix your face, voice, personality, fix the things that make you you. We start shrinking the parts of ourselves that don't fit the script. We start polishing ourselves until we're unrecognizable. We trade authenticity for approval. We trade reality for perfection. And the story I'm about to tell you begins with someone who made that trade for far too long. Her name doesn't matter, because her story is many people's story. It might even be yours. She grew up believing perfection was the entry fee for being liked. If she didn't get it right, she didn't feel deserving. Perfect grades, hair, posture, timing. Perfect everything. She kept a mental scoreboard running at all times. Every mistake was a penalty. Every flaw, a red mark. She lived in quiet competition with an imaginary version of herself, a version no human could ever reach. Until one day, her teacher announced a simple assignment. Tomorrow, each of you will give a 2-minute talk. Any topic you want. The class shrugged. She panicked. A 2-minute talk meant 2 minutes of being seen. 2 minutes where she couldn't edit, delete, or rewrite herself. That night, she wrote the perfect speech. Symmetrical sentences. Flawless vocabulary. Not a single breath left to chance. She rehearsed in the mirror so long, she memorized not only the words, but the exact angle of her smile. The next morning, she stepped up to the front of the class, hands trembling just enough to notice. And then it happened. Her voice cracked, not gently, not quietly, but sharply, like a cold branch snapping. Her worst fear was suddenly real. Her perfect speech fell apart. Her brain blanked. Her heart thudded, so loudly she could swear the room heard it. She stared at her paper. She stared at her classmates. She waited for the judgment, the laughter, the whispers. But that's not what happened. Someone in the back whispered, "Same. My voice does that when I'm nervous." A girl next to her nodded. "It's okay. You got this." And her teacher? He didn't rush her, look disappointed, or correct her. He just smiled, a warm, real human smile, and said, "When you're ready." Something inside her loosened. For the first time in her life, she let the perfection go. And she spoke. Her lines weren't smooth. Her voice wavered. Her hands shook. But her words were alive. For the first time, the class wasn't listening to a perfect performance. They were listening to her. And that changed everything. What she didn't know then, what most of us don't know, is that imperfection is magnetic. The very moment we think we're losing people is often the moment they finally connect with us. Think about the last time you felt drawn to someone. Chances are it wasn't because they were flawless. It was because they were real. We connect to the creator who shares the behind-the-scenes chaos. The friend who cries mid-sentence and apologizes, but keeps talking anyway. These are the people we remember. Not because they're perfect, but because they're honest. Perfection impresses people, but imperfection connects people. And connection always beats impression. Here's the truth. When you hide your imperfections, you also hide the doorway that lets people in. We think perfection will make us loved, but it only makes us distant. We think imperfection will make us rejected, but it's what makes us relatable. The cracks in your voice, the uncertainty in your steps, the messiness in your growth, they're not signs of weakness. They're signs that you're human, and being human is the whole point. There's a lie many people grow up believing. Once I fix everything wrong with me, I'll finally be enough. But there's a deeper truth the world rarely teaches. You don't become enough by becoming perfect. You become enough by becoming yourself. Perfection is a mask. A beautiful mask, maybe, but still a mask. The world doesn't need a more polished version of you. It needs a more present version of you. It needs the version who admits they're learning, who tries again after messing up, who shows up even when they're scared, who lets their voice crack but speaks anyway. Because here's the secret. People aren't inspired by someone who never breaks. They're inspired by someone who breaks and still chooses to grow. You weren't born to be perfect. You were born to be real, to feel, to change, to evolve, to be a story in motion, not a statue on display. Your imperfections don't make you less valuable. They make you recognizable. They make you understandable. They make you you. Years after her cracked voice moment, the girl who once feared speaking became a speaker. Not because she became perfect, but because she finally understood something. Her imperfections weren't obstacles. They were invitations. Invitations for others to show up with their own imperfections. After one of her talks, a student approached her and said, "I listened to you because you weren't perfect, and that made me believe maybe I don't have to be either." That sentence, that was the moment that flipped everything. Being perfect doesn't inspire people. Being real does. She realized her cracked voice hadn't been a failure. It was an opening, a doorway, a mirror for someone else who felt the same fear. And in that moment, she understood. People don't need you to be flawless. They need you to be honest. People don't admire your perfection. They admire your courage to be imperfect. They admire the person who's brave enough to show up as they are, because it gives them permission to do the same. So here's the truth I want you to carry, not just today, but every day after this. You are imperfectly perfect, not because you hide your flaws, but because you embrace them. Not because you get everything right, but because you keep showing up even when you don't. You don't need a smoother voice. You need a stronger belief in your own. You don't need a better version of yourself. You need a truer one. You don't need to wait until you're finished to start. You are allowed to begin exactly as you are. Your imperfections are not the parts of you to fix. They are the parts of you that make you human, relatable, memorable, and powerful. So don't chase perfect. Chase honest. Chase present. Chase real. Because the world doesn't remember the flawless. It remembers the genuine. And the most genuine thing you can ever be is imperfectly, beautifully, unapologetically you. Grow quietly. Rise daily.